Hi, everybody, and welcome to the CCaaS update and to 2024, the first newsletter of this year. And I'm really pleased to say my first interview for the newsletter of this year as well. I'd like to welcome Jonas Kristensen today, who he and I actually met at the CCaaS Expo in London back last year, back in November. Feels like a long time ago now, pre-Christmas and New Year's. Jonas is the CX consultancy manager at Advania Group, with a particular interest on future contact channels and innovations in the call center space. Advania is the biggest cross-Nordic CX house, and they've recently expanded into the UK as well. And Jonas and I talked about a few different things, actually, really interesting conversation. And one of the things that we touched upon and that I wanted to bring into this format for everyone today to listen to is messaging as a channel, particularly with the upcoming RCS standard instead of SMS. Jonas thinks it's going to be one of the biggest inbound channels over the next 3 to 5 years. So we're going to be talking about starting right from basics. What is messaging and why is it important? Why do customers prefer it over other options? And what this could impact, or how this could impact voice as well, how it could impact bots and AI. Do we see that as the end of that? And also about compliance as well, because obviously that's an important factor as well. So we'll be going through all of that. But first of all, Jonas, thank you very much and welcome to the interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. So we'll jump straight in then. So messaging, what is it and why is it important right now, in your opinion?
So messaging is something we already use quite a lot. We use it in SMS today. So I couldn't imagine a world where I couldn't send an SMS to my parents or my wife, my kids even. What is happening is, as you mentioned, the new RCS standard is coming. It has been here for a while, but particularly Apple have been long to introduce it. They now have committed to it. I believe it was early November. I think it will arrive during the summer for Apple devices, which means with the RCS format, we can now start sending images, videos, content in a whole new way on phones that we haven't been used to with SMS. That will look a lot like chats that we're used to, but now it will just go directly into your SMS inbox or your message inbox on the phone instead. So I think that is a big game changer.
And why do you feel that's particularly important in the current state of play for CX and contact centers then?
Yeah, so for the last let's say almost 10 years, chat has been a big buzzword. We're talking about chatbots all the time. We want to do chats. But what we're failing to understand is we are tying the customers down to actually being on our webpage. For some cases, that's a really good idea. But for many other cases, I would just want to send over that quick chat message while I'm commuting in the train, or when I come home from work. I don't want to be tied into a company webpage. And even when going into this chat widget on the phone, it's an awkward setup. You will have the responsive design, but it never really fits on the screen on the phone. So I think having the same functionality as in a chat widget, but now on your phone, that will send customers to this channel instead of actually using the chat widget on the webpage.
So do you feel then, because one of the things we talked about was chat widgets and why couldn't customers just use that? I mean, you've highlighted some of the advantages there that messaging has over them. So do you think as the RCS standard comes in that we're going to see a steep decline in the use of chat widgets on company web pages for these same purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really do believe that once this takes off, this will be the new way of reaching out to the companies where you're a customer at. We already use the messaging for, just think of Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. how much you use that for sending messages back and forth to friends, family. And imagine if you could do the same with companies where you're a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, taking that one step further, then, I mean, do you believe that this will change the preferred contact channel for customers? And I mean, if so, yeah, what effect does that have on voice?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, as many other people say, mail is dead. It's probably not, but that will be for a selected few things. Chat as well. I think messaging will take over quite a lot. It's easy for the customer. They can pick up from the initial conversation. They can start a new one, but in the same thread. That will be very, very easy for the customers. As for voice, I don't think it will be dead, but in time, yeah, I believe that voice will be taken over by messaging. It will take some time, and there are still areas where it's nice to talk to a human being, where you need that empathy in the dialogue. But for many of the let's say shorter conversations or shorter problems, shorter handling times, I'm trying to say is you would just want that to be from a message, particularly for the questions where I don't need an answer immediately. I
Mhm.
could wait a few hours or maybe a day. That would be fine.
So, do you really feel then that, we're saying messaging can take over as one of the preferred contact channels, certainly seeing the decline on widgets, starting to take some share away from voice, but
Yeah.
obviously, as with many channels, it's going to have specific use cases, and that might vary by then individuals and of course sector as well. Have you been seeing from dealing with customers that the emergence of that? Are certain customers and certain use cases really standing out as taking advantage of messaging as this standard starts to come in, or since Apple have really committed, are those conversations starting to happen with your customers?
Yeah, so I think one of the areas where we would see this really taking off is allowing customers to receive um, content. It could be a link to a web page, it could be a knowledge article, it could be something similar. So this will be used for a lot of help center related stuff, marketing stuff, sales stuff. But it won't be as no, it won't feel as much as when you're talking to a sales rep on the phone. You could feel a bit kind of strangled from that sales dialogue. Where this is a cute way to introduce a new offering, a new product. I think this is a great way to send a video of how to, let's say, reset a router, or how to find your way in the metro system somewhere, something like that. I think there are many ways where you can provide these these articles, this help to the customers
Mm,
in another way than we're used to. We could do it with SMS today, but that would just be a really bad formatted URL.
mm.
So you're lacking that customer experience there. But once that arrives as a picture, as a video, as a card with several pictures, um, sure, that will change the way that companies are sending information, sending help to their customers. What we will see, and why I think this is particularly interesting, is we would expect customers to channel hop, meaning that once this chat becomes interesting for the company, let's say in a sales situation, the company can then choose to phone the customer, or you will allow the customer to quickly phone the right sales rep who knows something particularly about that specific router that you're trying to sell.
Mm.
And why this is also interesting for companies is these messages, just like with your Facebook Messenger, your WhatsApp, your SMS even, you're not expecting a reply instantly. That also allows companies to then better do their operation in the call center, meaning that you can choose to focus on your calls in peak hours, and then you can save the messages for later. So it gives a lot more possibility for companies to orchestrate this experience for the customers. So I think this is great news for companies as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been speaking to some companies recently, small business owners within sort of electrical trades, plumbing trades, building work, and things like, people, particularly in the weather that we've got in Europe at the moment,
Mm.
people needing to reset a boiler or something like that. And, small businesses that might have several hundred customers. They can't answer calls to people endlessly. They can't get to all those call outs. But if it's managed through a call center, an outsourced call center, which a lot of those businesses have, and they're able to send a video that says, well,
Oh,
based on the brand of boiler we know you have, you can follow this video and you'll be able to go through some basic troubleshooting yourself before one of our team can get to you. That customer's feeling engaged, and it's stuff that even small businesses here in the UK are looking at now and are thinking about, yeah, that actually works for us. Whereas
yeah,
before, maybe we'd have to email them some sort of worksheet
yeah,
or something. And if you've got customers that just aren't, their computer's in a different part of the house from the boiler, and they're not going to walk backwards and forwards, they're not going to print it out, they're not going to be able to view it on a device effectively for whatever reasons. I think there's lots of use cases where the advantages now of the change to messaging can really help. If
yeah.
you
I
want
think
to,
I think something interesting here, just to stop you there, James.
yeah, sure.
Um, so with the emails, that is the way we do marketing today, right? So
Mm.
I'm guessing right now that the biggest folder you have in your email inbox is the marketing folder, right? With newsletters
Okay.
and spam and so on. So
Yeah.
imagine if we could do proactive service, personal service, but it would arrive as what we know as SMS today, but having the content that is relevant, but also engaging for customers. And it could just arrive directly on your phone in that inbox. Just imagine the ease of it for a customer.
Mm. I mean, certainly from my role as a recruiter, I know there are channels that work better for me than others. I get laughed at by some of the younger people in my industry because I leave voicemails and they look at me and they go, "No one listens to voicemail." But look, I'm of a generation and I leave them. But text, I know, messaging. If I message somebody, I will get a response pretty quickly. I will also use WhatsApp, but not everybody checks that regularly. Yes, I use LinkedIn Messenger, but not everybody checks that regularly. But messaging is immediate and it's personal. And so, I know that if thinking about what we're talking about in terms of my industry, I could see immediate use cases for it as well from a marketing perspective, or just from being able to get information in front of people quickly, personally, on their device, which would mean that they're able to feel more connected to it rather than email, which can sometimes feel very generic because we're used to seeing those emails that just go out to everybody all at once, and that's how people treat them. This though naturally leads us on to one of the other things I mentioned at the top of the call about AI then. So do you think that with this increase in use on messaging and it becoming one of the main inbound channels, we're going to see less use cases for bots and AI?
On the contrary, actually, I think we'll see much more. There will be plenty of bots. They will, to some extent, do what they were meant to. So they will be better at doing these guided processes, basically because you will have customers who are now contacting on their preferred channel, and that allows the bots to send information, send content to these customers. But you will have a customer who is in a good mindset because they're not tied down to your silly web page and your stupid help center. They will get this content as they want it. They will get it on their phone, and I think the mindset of the customer will then allow for more of this bot information, because now I'm not annoyed by being on the web page in a channel I don't want to. I'm actually where I want to be, and that will then allow me to go from those 2 or 3 articles that the bot normally will send before I reach out to an agent. That will now maybe go to 4 or 5 because it's fine. It's just in my inbox. Again, I can take this while I'm commuting. I can, almost be typing the company where I'm a customer at in the shower.
Yeah. Yeah, out walking the dog is one that I hear. People out on a jog, dropping the school, doing the school run, dropping the kids off, picking them up. It's those day-to-day tasks that take you away from
Exactly.
where you could be, as you say,
Yeah.
tied to a web page, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it frees
exactly.
those up.
And
But
and I think the whole chat segment is brilliant. It's a really good way of communicating, particularly as you say for the young people now. I too am almost too old to understand the whole chat thing, but yeah, for the young people that will be their way of communicating. But now they don't have to wait for that reply and for them to get back to the company. They can just get the reply and then they reply in an hour or two. That's fine.
yeah, I mean, the generational thing is an interesting point, and of course, it's something that within the CCCX space we have to consider across all channels and from multiple directions as well, not just the changes that are coming to messaging and the increased use cases for it, but certainly I think it's well evidenced now that generations that are 10, 20 years younger than me, and I'm in my early 40s, are more likely to use a chat channel than a voice channel.
Yeah.
But there are certain use cases where we know voice is on the increase, and actually generational opinions and views of AI and bots. I think again we see evidence where as long as people know they're talking to an AI or a bot and it is solving a problem for them, they don't mind, and that then applies to any channel, including messaging as well.
Yeah.
But I suppose then the final thing that we wanted to talk about then is compliance. This is a change to an existing channel. It's different use cases from how people would use messaging now. Is it compliant? Can it be compliant for all situations?
So, and I think this is actually the most interesting part. I guess many companies out there and many businesses out there, they have looked into Facebook Messenger as a communication channel. Some have done it, most probably haven't. And I think the reason for that is once you start using Facebook Messenger, you also actually demand your customers to send their data to Meta on Facebook, which
Mm.
is probably not a very compliant mindset. So with RCS, this is now instead handled by the telcos, and the telcos are they have a different legislation that they need to follow. They are yeah, they have security measures that they need to follow in a whole different way. So it will be the same compliance challenges as with SMS, which I am sure, or even calls, and I'm sure that almost all businesses will allow their customers to talk over the phone or send an SMS, and this will just be the same security matter. So this should be a lot more compliant and should be it will open this messaging market that it's now the telcos that are handling compliance matters instead of a big American social media corporate.
Yeah,
I think I said enough.
yeah, an already questioned giant. I think,
Yeah.
so really, I guess what you're saying then is the change to messaging and compliance around it is as much a case of changing the view of the consumer and reassuring them and it's understanding it's messaging about messaging. There are changes. That means that this can now be used for these things. It is compliant, it is safe, it is convenient. So really it's for companies to look at their procedures and operations and before just engaging in the technology and saying to get the most from this, because we can't just run at it like we've got SMS and assume customers are going to accept oh yeah, I'll send you certain details via what some people are going to always refer to as text message. So I think, you know, there's that whole side of the debate and the challenge and the transformation to get right as well. But yeah, certainly, you know, like we talked about when we were at the expo, I think it's fascinating, and I think the possibilities. I agree with you. I think the possibilities are huge. I had a situation just on a personal thing recently. I was trying to change my details with a supplier. They flipped me from a chat widget to WhatsApp, and that was so much more convenient because I'm working at my desk. I don't want so many tabs open where I'm flipping from one thing to the other. But I can have my phone sat there. I can answer. I can be doing something else. I can answer, and that's in a place where I could have sat there on a website for X period of time, but it was so much more convenient to do it that way. So whether that had been messaging or in that case as it was WhatsApp, it would be, you know, just as useful. So yeah, hopefully, you know, the audience listening to this, whenever they get around to listening to it, take something away from this. If anyone's got any thoughts, they agree, they disagree, you know, obviously do put them in the feedback and in the comments, and I'll be sharing them with Jonas. But otherwise, Jonas, again, thank you very, very much for your time today.
Thank you.